Hello and welcome. My name is Amanda Godfrey and I am the college principal at Mystical Dragon and also a White Witch. And I just wanted to do another one of our little videos, and this week just talk a bit about some of the energy that's going on for us. I know many people that are really feeling the energy at present, maybe can't necessarily put their fingers on what exactly it is that's going on, but lots of people that are definitely feeling this energy. And I know personally I've even seen it with the kids that are around me, as well as students and other people that I work with and friends that are really feeling this energy at the moment. So let's take a moment just to look at some of the energies affecting us and how we might be feeling some of that energy right now. So we are only currently a few days off from our new moon, and the new moon here in Australia is on Sunday, and our new moon will be in the sign of Cancer, and Cancer is a beautiful water sign but also tends to bring a lot of sensitivity with it, so we can be feeling emotional with that energy of Cancer at present as it is just by itself. Now also on Sunday we have the Witches' Sabbath of winter solstice, so we will be experiencing our longest night and our shortest day, and that's always a significant pivotal point, especially for those of us that follow this path of a witch, where we can really connect with this shifting of energy. A lot of protection magic tends to get done at this time, especially because it is a transitional energy, moving from that half of the year that is filled with darkness and starting to shift into the half of the year where the light will be growing. Now also on top of these things, we have had solar flares as well. I think it was yesterday that we had a solar flare, so we will be starting to feel that energy today and tomorrow, and possibly even on Sunday when we've already got our new moon. And we also, along with our new moon, we have a solar eclipse that we're going to experience as well. Now here in Australia we won't be able to see the solar eclipse, but we will still feel that energy. So even in the parts of the world where you won't necessarily see that eclipse physically, we still feel this energy. And this is actually our second eclipse. We had one 2 weeks ago at the full moon, and we actually have one more eclipse that we are due to experience in another 2 weeks at the next full moon as well. Now, eclipses really bring a lot of intense energy along with them, and they often press our buttons and call us to do some healing, and particularly call us to look at perhaps things from the past that require healing for us. So really kind of pressing those buttons and asking us to look at those things that need healing and to do some healing and clearing for ourselves. And sometimes sporadically we start to do healing, or we might have lots of intuitive messages coming through about what we should be working on to help us in that healing process. But certainly the energy is really helping us to understand what needs healing, but also it will support us in being able to do any healing work that we need to do at present as well. So this will of course add to some of that feeling really sensitive energy. It can add to us feeling a little bit more crazy because our buttons are really being pushed at present. So the people around you might be being extra angry, extra frustrated, extra sad or depressed. It can create more anxiety. So it can create all of these things because our buttons are really being pressed, so that we can't ignore what needs to be healed at this time, what needs to be acknowledged, and something needs to be done with. Doesn't always mean that we have to release those relationships that we're being asked to look at, but it might mean that we need to perhaps improve our communication, or there might be certain aspects of that relationship, for instance, that we need to look at more intensely. and work out, well, what do I need to do here? You know, do I want to put in more energy and effort into this relationship? Or is this, you know, is this time to actually release it? Is it no longer serving me on any level? So really looking at and examining all those things that are kind of coming to the surface for us. So our Cancer energy that we have with the new moon, as well as our solar eclipses, as well as our the solar energy that we've had with the solar flare that we experienced yesterday, this is all really helping to facilitate us to feel more sensitive, probably feel more emotional at the moment, but also helping us to be able to do some healing for ourselves, to be able to look and examine what needs healing so that we can action and do something about these things as well. So you may feel called to actually go see a practitioner of some sort to be able to work with this. So perhaps things like physical ailments, you may even just simply go to the doctor and actually address it rather than try to ignore it. You might feel called to go to some kind of energy healing practitioner. Whatever it is that you're feeling called that you need to do, if it is not something that you feel is within your own realms to be able to do, you might feel called to do a little healing ritual or a healing spell of some sort to help you with even being able to work out what is it that I need to be looking at, because sometimes we can feel like we know that there's something. It's like we almost feel like we go into this crazy space where we feel that energy and we feel like something's being pressed, but we don't necessarily consciously know what it is we're being asked to look at. So that might be happening. So doing some meditation or doing some divination to assist with that, doing some journal writing, this can all assist with that energy. You may also be feeling a bit of energy overload, where doing some earthing and some grounding will be really helpful. So literally getting your feet out on the earth, and going out, sitting under a tree or leaning on a tree, doing some meditation outside if you're able. Go for a walk on the beach, that beach and all of our nature energy, but particularly that salt air is really good for cleansing the aura and just helping to kind of connect and ground us and bring us back to the earth. Perhaps there's salt baths are a really good method to help us with being able to ground as well, or looking at certain crystals that assist us with grounding. So a lot of your grounding crystals are really like your dark coloured crystals, your hematites and your black obsidians, and even like your golden tiger's eye, and those kind of crystals can be really helpful. And golden tiger's eye is actually really helpful with a lot of solar energy too. So if you are feeling energy overload at the moment, something like a golden tiger's eye can be ideal because it helps us in being able to assimilate that solar energy. With the solar flares do really impact us, and especially at the moment as we are going through a big transition, a big ascension. And so we have a lot of energy that's coming onto our earth that's helping to open us on many levels of our being, helping to balance and open all of our chakras, helping to really open us on a lot of those spiritual levels. And while that's happening, we can feel like we're going a little bit crazy, like there's a little bit too much going on, that we can feel like we're in a bit of overload with feeling extra sensitive on those emotional levels. And it can cause a lot of anxiety for many people as well. So there's a lot of different ascension symptoms that can get triggered when solar flares occur. Some of those that I've just mentioned, but also things like aches and pains can increase. I know lots of people that have been experiencing headaches in particular today. Lots of our higher chakras tend to be getting opened, and so we can experience, things around the throat as that is getting triggered and opened. We can experience headaches as our third eye or our crown is being opened and adjusted. There's a lot of symptoms we can really feel, and exhaustion is another very common symptom as well. I actually have an article that covers something like 20 or 30 different symptoms of ascension that is on our website as well, which goes a bit more into depth with that for those that are interested. But definitely we need to make sure we're drinking plenty of water during this time, because that helps to flush out our system, to release any toxins, and to help release blocks that are occurring for us. And as I've mentioned, things like, if you feel the need to get support, then do go get some support, whether it's a friend and you just need to lean on them and share some of what's going on so that you can kind of work through what it is for you. Or whether you need to perhaps look at a doctor or some kind of physician or spiritual practitioner that might help you through that process as well. Or things like our meditation, our journal writing, working with crystals. Selenite I've been hearing in the last 24 hours is a really good crystal as well to be working with, so carrying that with you to really help with the assimilation and the settling of energy as well. And moonstone is often another good one to work with, particularly around our full moon and our new moon. So see what intuitively you're being called to work with, because then you will be guided to the most appropriate crystals for you that are going to help you as well. Making sure we're grounding regularly is really good. So our salt baths, or like I mentioned before, literally getting out on the earth and having that connection. You may also be finding it's a really positive time for you, and that your intuition is really flowing and connected. Because there's so much energy, you can be getting a lot of intuitive stuff. You may find that your dreams are really getting triggered at the moment. You're having lots of dreaming with that Cancerian water energy. It not only helps on those emotional levels, but it can help us on an intuitive level as well. So you might find you're really flowing on an intuitive level, or sometimes it's a little bit up and down as we're going through that healing process and we're clearing some of the blockages. It really can be quite up and down, where we're feeling really connected one day and really disconnected the next day. So having some flexibility and being able to stop and take a nice deep breath and center ourselves and just know that this is a really intense time and it's a very changeable time, and that we need to just be able to really go with the flow to the best of our abilities. And if we can rest a bit more as we're feeling that we need to, that's ideal. I know it's not always possible in our busy life, but that's ideal if you can rest when you're called to, or when you feel like you really need to. But being able to bring in any of those other tools that I've talked about to kind of try and help support you through that process will be really ideal at this time. As I said, we still have one more eclipse to get through. And when we have 2 or 3 eclipses in a row, we kind of sit in a real intense gateway of energy. So, this energy isn't going to dissipate after Sunday. We will still be in an intense period for the next 2 weeks in the lead up to the following full moon. And that eclipse is where I see that, like, that eclipse gateway of energy will actually close for us. I do feel like we do have such a lot of intense energy in 2020, and we do have a lot of planets in retrograde, as well as all the things I've mentioned, and that just will be helping to push our buttons even more. So, there is still going to be a lot that we're going to be working with, but hopefully things will start to settle again, more so after this next eclipse in 2 weeks' time as well. So I hope that this has at least been a little bit helpful. Sometimes I find that just having an understanding as to why some of these things might be occurring for us is really helpful in itself, rather than just kind of, feeling like you're being beaten up a little bit and thrown around a bit and feeling overwhelmed regularly. To know why it's happening, and then to be able to center ourselves and think about, okay, now I know that there's tools I can be using, what can I use, can be really helpful during this time.